Thank you for the improvement. Dear. As Ethan was walking to the apartment, he was toting his pants on the coffee table. Here, obtrusively confident, in their new clothes and zapatos. They were carrying high-aged logos. I have been living a luxurious lifestyle in Europe. Sarah. Ayudarlo no podia. Sonreír empecé. Why is it so entertaining? La Llorona se acercaba. I'm rompiendo mi cabeza. Ethan. I have no idea what has happened. I'm Sarah, and I'm 34 years old. I work in cybersecurity, and for the past 7 years, I've been married to a man who turned into a Roja Bandera who is walking disoriented. Ethan had always been the smooth talker, the counselor, and the one who made everything seem like a brilliant plan. As a result, I was the one who made sure those plans would succeed, maintaining a safe career as he descended from a red-colored Escama. They disregarded the warning signs, maintained financial secrecy, and made repeated excuses for their lack of income, all in an attempt to convince themselves that we were a formidable force. However, Ethan committed an irreversible error on the second day of the previous week. I was asleep in the sala when the incident occurred. Before leaving my computer, I should have waited until I was certain that I was safe. My job in cybersecurity had taught me how to monitor potential threats. But I never imagined that I would need such skills at home. Ethan used my computer this evening to gain access to one of my credit cards. He copied the details, took a few pictures with his phone, and then went to sleep as if nothing had happened. The next morning, when I was having coffee, I saw a flurry of alerts on my phone. I used my banking application to find about $50 in rates, designer clothing, cars, and first-class plane tickets to Paris. When the pieces clicked into place, my estomago stopped working. Ethan was behind all of this. Presumably, there was. However, I was Sanrio instead of Panico. The card I used did not have a personal account. There was a long-term credit card linked to an office-based training program. It is designed to teach businesses how to recognize and respond to fraud. Every transaction triggers an automated alarm that directly reaches the authorities. Ethan was unaware that it had become a case study. Chloe, esa misma mañana, es mi abogado, no vas a creer esto. Reciting everything in detail. As she said, ni siquiera tried to retell her story. Reeses said, espera, déjame hacer esto directo. Was a Duro Carta robbed? Which of these pertains to fraud detection? Exactly, dije. My voice is quiet but satisfied. I doubt anyone would pay attention to what I was doing. Most likely, he believed that he was intelligent. Smart, Chloe said. She is a fool. We will mark each completed task. Have you been in touch with the authorities yet? I haven't contacted the authorities yet. But it's inevitable. I remained silent for the remainder of the week, waiting to see what point Ethan would take it. A few days later, he left a note in the account. I'm taking a little time off for myself. No te esperes. Sabia knew just what that meant. I was using my stolen money to go out and see it. Every night, there would be fraud alerts at 5-star hotels, fine dining establishments, and lavish shopping malls. Every notification seems like a tiny victory. Agent Keller, a federal investigator assigned to the case, called him 3 days before his departure. We have discovered a significant and fraudulent activity connected to your account. Said, does anyone know who may be in charge? C. Reply without hesitation. My husband. I took a little break. 2. Esposo? Outlined the circumstances, noting that the card was a component of a cybersecurity initiative. Agent Keller set off a low sound. It's new, he said. There are serious issues with suggesting a formal declaration based on what we have already stated. After a week of indulgences, Ethan's ego exploded as he walked through the door. Estaba listo, presenting their stolen espaldas. They approached the house as if nothing had happened. Thank you for the improvement, he said with a coquette sonrisa. Are you really unsure this time? I couldn't stop the risa that came from me. Ethan sat down, obviously hoping that I was curious. Why is it so entertaining? He asked in an iron voice. Oh, Ethan, agitando mi cabeza le dije. You're at the point of discovering it. With a dirty sound, Ethan left his designer's pocket on the floor. Sarah, Are you serious? Said, breaking off his outfit and having Espalda touch it. I have been in contact with Deberías over the cart for a long time. Imagine how much entertainment we could have. I fought against the cook's piso. Brazos cruzados. And how exactly did you think this would end? El asusto. Rompiendo las espaldas. You're always so optimistic about money. I don't see why you can't pay for it. I thought you may have been a little happier than I was. If it weren't so pathetic. His audacity would be infuriating. He returned with a sigh, aware that each passing second added another drop to his coffee. Examples include telephones, airplanes, and hotels. Is it possible that all of it was a gift from me? I didn't think so, I said, looking at myself. Lo sabía. It's time for you to relax. A statement that conveyed no meaning moved me to tears. Assumed. After Ethan disappeared into thin air, singing an obnoxious song, I hung up the phone and left Chloe a message. Está de vuelta. Ready to go forward. Their response was prompt. Perfecto. Voy a avisar a Keller. Agente. Chloe and Agent Keller have been preparing the case against Ethan for the last week. They had recorded every step he took. The team meticulously completes every charge. She meticulously completes every task. From the palaces to the luxury hotels in Paris. Her indulgence painted a picture of someone who believed they were invincible. Ethan was unaware of the extent of the breach. Agent Keller had assured me that the fraud alerts from the phony account had already sparked a thorough investigation. On our last call, he stated that we will train him to inquire once he is included in the list. However, I would advise you to do it yourself. The more confident you are, the better. I was in a state of surrealism and serenity when I heard Ethan singing a loud song from below. For years, he had taken advantage of my stability, amity, and confidence, but this time, he was at the point of facing the consequences of my worrying. After Ethan's surgery, he approached the Scylla while gritting his teeth and acting as though he had no care in the world. I've been to Paris, Deberías said, reaching for his bolsa to drop a brilliant gold gonta. The stores and restaurants were like a dream. It was truly amazing, I thought. What else do you say? Looking at the port? Dime Moss. It began with a detailed account of their week-long trip, complete with exaggerated hand gestures and unnecessary details on the quality of the champagne in a certain piece of land. They viewed every word as a condensation, a declaration that no one could confidently confirm. I was unaware that they were recording every conversation on my phone. Compiling a list of conversations for Agent Keller to review. What's the best part? Ethan took the phone to admire it. Ni siquiera tú. Nadie sospechaba una cosa. To complete the timeline, Chloe and I met up over coffee with the next mother. I don't have any defense, she said, referring to the evidence we had gathered. The fraud alerts, arrests, and their conversation from the previous evening are all over. Keller, the agent, is ready to take him to the police station to be questioned. They are working with the local police to carry out the arrest. Lore, the total weight finally starts to follow. Who succeeds after that? According to Chloe, he will face several arrests, including fraud, identity theft, and using a financial account without authorization. There won't be a golpe in the near future due to the amount of money involved. What is the best case scenario for him? He makes a deal and stays out of jail time. What is the worst case scenario? Años detrás de las barras están mirando. A part of me would like to feel discouraged by him. However, I later captured the silence in their home. The way they disposed of their stolen goods without giving a second thought to the harm they had caused. It wasn't just an error. It was a pattern of self-centeredness and detention that had persisted for a long time. After that night, as Ethan approached the shore and looked at his phone, he heard the unmistakable sound of a golpe in the harbor. My heart accelerated, not out of fear, but out of anticipation. I went to the door and opened it to reveal Agent Keller and two uniformed officials who were in the hallway. Buenas noches, Senora Miller, Keller said in a professional yet kind tone. Is Ethan at home? Está justo adentro, he said, passing to let them in. Actions to make them feel comfortable. Ethan's brows united in confusion as he looked from his phone. ¿Qué está pasando? Sentándose más recto. Le pregunto. Agent Keller approached him with a calm authority, causing the space to become smaller. Ethan Miller is being investigated for a number of credit card fraud stories and the unauthorized use of financial stories. We would appreciate it if you could come ask us questions. Ethan's trust vanished in an instant, and his heart became dark. What? Diganlo, Sarah, esto es una locura. I crucified and slightly lowered my head. No, Ethan, you've been quite busy lately. You should explain it to them. Ethan persisted in his protests until the officials asserted their rights and led him to the port. You can't do this. This is a locura. Sarah, you're my wife, don't you have to be at my side? It's very nice, I said, looking toward the port, believing that spouses shouldn't steal from their spouses. I assume that we are both learning something today. Ethan looked at me, his confidence replaced by despair. You won't be able to escape this. Mi sonrio. Ya lo he hecho, said Ethan. With a forceful click, the officials closed the port, leaving the apartment electrically silent. I stood there for a bit, looking at the empty space where I had been for a few minutes. My heart was racing, not because of fear, but because of the weight of the occasion. El había ido. Finally, it was unquestionably Ito. However, this had not ended. No. On. Chloe called 1 hour later. I'm with Agent Keller right now, he said. You're quiet, yet firm. Han started asking him questions. Ethan is already trying to change the history to his advantage. According to what Keller told me. I assume it is, I said, circling my eyes. Déjenme adivinar. Are you playing with the victim? Chloe replied with a sonriente risa. Está bien. Está accusing me of granting permission to use the cartel. No se preocupe. Nevertheless, there is no opportunity between the fraud alerts, the charges, and your grabación. Agent Keller called with an update on the next mañana. We have all that we need, he said. Your husband, who is soon to be an ex-husband, has acknowledged using the cartel. But he maintains that he didn't know that he had anything to do with fraud detection. I'm trying to get rid of the mixture in you. That's right, I said, looking at my Scylla. What happened after that? We're moving forward with the cargo. Keller clarified. It is dealing with several cases of fraud and unauthorized use of a financial account. Given the amount of money involved, there will be noticeable effects. The programs do not have access. The feeling of Olivia was immediate and surprising. Days passed while they carried the weight of the actions, worried that they had somehow managed to escape the fracas. But now that I can hear the confidence, I realize how far I've come. Gracias, I said. Por todo. No me gracias, I said. In terms of their detention, the words spread quickly among our friends and family. And it wasn't long before their deep and careless image started to break. The woman who seems to have visited Nicole apparently opened it when she heard the actions. They seized the paid-for products, cancelled the planned flights, and closed the bank's accounts. One night, a few of the best judges answered the phone. And it was, presumably, Ethan. Estresada y baja voz. Sarah empezó. We must talk about Contigo. We need your assistance without resorting to violence. Ethan, the only thing you need to do is figure out how to explain the court. Please, he said, his tone shifting to one of despair. I was irritated. Do you agree? No ir tan lejos quería. Era alone. Just what? Fría. Interrumpí mi voz. Are you simply attempting to embezzle $50 from my account? I'm merely hoping you won't notice me. Do you merely compensate for the delay? Or do you actively engage in the process of holding back? On the opposite side of the line, I had a long silence. Finally, he said, I thought you might like me. I gently exhaled, feeling my anger subside. Ethan is not someone I could get along with. I liked the person who thought that. But the person who stole from me mentioned me and believed that I could get away with it. And they are not someone I could get along with. I was scared before I could react. A week later, Chloe called to make sure Ethan had accepted an agreement. I'm avoiding time in the cage, he explained. However, in addition to performing the community service, you will be required to pay for each cent you attempted to steal. Furthermore, their credit will be in ruins for years. It seems convenient. Don't you think? I always wanted a high life. Now we'll see how the other midget lives. Chloe Riza, you are managing this better than the majority of people. It's entertaining. And I'm enjoying it. For years, we believed that Ethan was the one who kept everything together in our house. We believed that their charisma, ambition, and big ideas were what kept us moving forward. But now I see it clearly. You were the one who was supportive. He was just a dead person. On the day that the divorce papers were filed, I was given a bottle of wine and left on the Scylla, looking at the apartment that now seemed to be completely Mio and sacred. The absence of Ethan was not a loss. It was a gift, a chance to rebuild my life without the perpetual shadow of his selfishness. As I sipped my wine, I reflected on the time when he had gone through the port, floating their stolen goods and making fun of me for the alleged improvement he had made to himself. He had been so confident in his own brilliance, and now he was the one bearing the consequences. For the first time in years, I felt truly free. It was not only a Casita's end, it was the beginning of a life that I would eventually be able to call my own. After Ethan's arrest, the apartment felt quite calm in the days that followed. They had completed their tasks. Although it wasn't sold or shipped in their designer's package, the space seemed lighter, almost as if the weight of their shipment had been carried physically. I would be able to send myself in my own home for the first time in years without feeling their shadow looking at me. Chloe stayed late to leave a few last bits of paper. What are you maintaining? Sentandos en el sofá con su usual actitud disminuyente. Le pregunto. It would be better to let them in and give them a cup of coffee. It's a bit excessive, but I don't feel alone. Aliviada. Ella. Sabiendo. Sonrio. That's because you have ganado. Sarah. No soloist has surpassed this. Más fuerte ha salido. I thought about that while we went over the documents, completing the specifics of Ethan's financial return. Although each cent was paid satisfactorily, it wasn't just about the money. I was finally able to regain my independence. For years, I allowed Ethan to dictate the terms of our relationship, believing it would be simpler to maintain harmony. However, I now realize that the peace we established through silence and commitment was not absolute. The official divorce decree arrived a week later in an unexpected package that seemed too little to hold something so enormous. They supported it for a short period of time, allowing their weight to drop before breaking it open. My eyes followed the lines of the legal jargon until I found the most important words. Finalized and unchangeable. It put me in the middle of the kitchen, the cart in my hands, and gave me a rare opportunity to reflect. This was not the life I had imagined when I started dating Ethan. Envisioned a future built on mutual trust, stability, and association. However, upon inspecting the reconstructed house for me, I came to the realization that I had something superior. I experienced freedom, clarity, and the realization that I was stronger than anyone had ever given me credit for. Lauren drank a bottle of wine in a carton of my favorite wine that evening. He lifted his bottle and expressed to the newcomers his absolute determination to finish it. I stand against them, pointing out my heart. Never make me less than mere. In the next months, I started to make amends for what my new life seemed to be. I redecorated the apartment, adding color and unique touches that I felt fit me. Finally, I took the solo vacation I had been planning for years, exploring the coast and discovering the kind of peace that comes from leaving everything behind for a while. Ethan attempted to reach a few more times through mutual friendships, email-based withdrawals, and even a letter of tono de voce stating that he had changed his mind. However, I received no response. I had nothing to say. I had chosen Mia, and he had made his own decisions. Each time he passed by, rumors about his life circulated. She attempted to secure employment, yet the fraud charges tarnished her reputation. Living with their parents, who still believed they could talk about getting out of anything. I didn't feel discouraged by him. I replied, Olivio, see algo. It wasn't my problem anymore. A month after everything had been finalized, I sat at my apartment's window, enjoying my coffee, and watching the city come to life below. The sun illuminated the house, accentuating the completed picture's red fresco. My favorite color, azure. The space no longer feels like a battlefield. It felt like home. The place was peaceful, serene, and brimming with opportunities. I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. For years, she had dreamed of a life with Ethan, based on the promise of a casamiento. I had ignored the little voice inside of me that told me something was wrong and that her charm was a mask to the selva. But now I understand something crucial. Caminar wasn't a failure. Fuerza era. Lauren and I knew how to celebrate that end of the week. A new custom we had started since Ethan's departure. Regarding mimosas and frijoles, she asked me, "What is the following for you?" I experienced a range of emotions and a sense of tranquility that had long eluded me. To be very honest, I am currently focusing just on myself. The work is going really well. And I've been thinking about taking a longer vacation, possibly somewhere peaceful in the mountains. She carried her vase. That's what I like to hear. Lo Maris's. For the first time in years, I felt as though I was making decisions that were entirely for me. I had the liberty to live my life on my own terms, free from any obligations or compromises. Occasionally, I would receive updates on Ethan from mutual friends. As she tried to pay the money she owed, she was trying to rebuild her life by leaving a low-paying job for the next. The designer's vests and the luxury travels were already gone. The designer's vests and the luxury travels had been replaced by a reality for which he was unprepared. It didn't feel like me. Al had made his choices. And I had made mine. The most recent instance involved communicating via email. The appeal was lengthy and appeared more self-aggrandizing than sincere. Before deleting it without a response, I read the first few lines. He didn't need a cerradura. You had discovered the same thing within me. One evening, I sat on the balcony with a bottle of wine, symbolizing everything that had transpired, the betrayal, the grief, the sorrow of heart, and the struggle to reclaim what was rightfully mine. All of this led to this point. And even though it wouldn't have been easy, it would have been worthwhile. I didn't feel any more sorry or enojada over what had happened. Me sentí agradecida si algo. Ethan's behavior had forced me to face my own strength, to stop making compromises, and to start putting myself first. I learned to trust my instincts, to value my independence, and to never again let someone take away my joys. I pointed my camera toward the night sky while the city's lights blared in the distance. Here I am, speaking calmly. Here I am, starting. Y con eso seré el capítulo de Ethan por el bueno. Listo para recuperar lo que seguirá.